Jake Morrison kicked a piece of loose metal out of his way as he moved deeper into the guts of the dead ship. His breath echoed inside his helmet, and the only other sound was the magnetic pull of his boots against the floor. Salvage work wasn't glamorous. Most days he was elbow-deep in alien gunk, pulling out anything that might sell for a few credits. But it paid the bills and nobody asked too many questions about his past. This particular wreck was a Vraltic's vessel, ancient beyond belief. The thing had been floating in the void for at least 3,000 years, maybe more. His company had won the contract to strip it clean before the coalition government turned it into space dust. Jake didn't care much about the history. He just wanted to grab whatever tech still worked and get out before his oxygen ran low. The ship's interior was a maze of twisted corridors and rooms that made no sense to human eyes. Vraltics didn't build things the way people did. Everything was too tall, too narrow, with angles that hurt to look at. Jake had been doing this for 5 years though, so he knew how to navigate alien architecture without losing his mind. He pushed through a doorway that had corroded halfway open, squeezing his bulky suit through the gap. His flashlight swept across the room and that's when everything stopped. Medical bay. Had to be. The walls were lined with pods, most of them dark and empty. But one pod in the far corner was still active, throwing off a weak red glow that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. Jake's stomach dropped. Active systems on a ship this old meant only one thing. Something inside was still alive. He crossed the room slowly, boots heavy against the floor. The pod's surface was covered in frost and grime, but he could see through it well enough. A small shape lay curled inside, barely moving. Jake wiped the surface with his glove and got his first clear look. It was a child. A Vraltic's hatchling no bigger than a human toddler. Its skin was pale blue and crystalline, almost translucent in the light. For eyes, all closed except for the faintest flutter. Jake had seen adult Vraltics before, tall and proud and terrifying when they wanted to be. This little thing looked nothing like them. It looked fragile. Breakable. He checked the pod's medical readout, though he could barely read Vraltic's script. The numbers didn't lie though. Read across the board. Life support failing. Neural damage. Complete lower body paralysis. Jake had heard stories about Vraltic's culture during his years working salvage. They were perfectionists, every last one of them. Their society didn't have room for weakness or disability. If a kid was born wrong, born broken, they didn't fix it. They removed it. Quietly. Cleanly. No mess, no guilt, no questions asked. The ship was a tomb. A place where the Vraltics brought children they didn't want anyone to know about. They left them here in stasis pods, set to fail eventually, and then they flew away and forgot. Out of sight, out of mind. Problem solved. Jake stood there for a long time just staring. His rational brain was screaming at him to walk away. This wasn't his species. This wasn't his problem. He was a salvage mechanic, not a hero. Getting involved with a Vraltic's hatchling would bring down more trouble than he could handle. The Vraltics didn't forgive outsiders who messed with their cultural business. But Jake had never been good at listening to his rational brain. The kid's eyes opened. Just for a second. 4 dim, cloudy eyes that looked right at him through the frosted pod. There was no recognition there, no understanding. Just a flicker of life in something that was supposed to be dead. Ah hell, Jake muttered. His hands were already moving, fingers finding the pod's release mechanism before he could talk himself out of it. The system hissed and popped, ancient seals breaking after thousands of years. Cold air rushed out and Jake caught the smell of stale medical chemicals. He disconnected the life support cables as carefully as he could, his hands shaking despite the suit's stabilizers. The hatchling was so light he barely felt the weight. He wrapped it in his emergency thermal blanket, the kind meant for human survivors. Would have to do. The walk back to his ship felt 10 times longer than the walk in. Jake kept checking the bundle in his arms, making sure the kid was still breathing. Those 4 eyes stayed closed now, but he could feel a faint heartbeat against his chest. His ship's AI chimed a greeting when he climbed back through the airlock. Salvage complete? It asked in its flat, mechanical voice. Not exactly, Jake said. He laid the hatchling down in the medical bay such as it was. His ship wasn't designed for passengers, especially not dying alien children. He looked down at the small, fragile creature and realized he had absolutely no idea what to do next. He was a mechanic. He fixed ships, not people. And he'd just stolen something the Vraltic's empire would definitely want back. What the hell did I just do? Jake asked the empty room. The hatchling's eyes fluttered open again just briefly and Jake had his answer. He'd done the only thing he could do. The human thing. He'd refused to walk away. Jake named her Lily. It wasn't a Vraltic's name but he didn't care. When her 4 eyes caught the light just right, they sparkled like flower petals after rain, and the name just fit. She was beautiful in a strange alien way. She was also dying, and Jake had absolutely no clue how to stop it. For 2 days he tried everything he could think of. His ship's medical system was basic, designed for humans, and it couldn't make sense of Vraltic's biology. Every scan came back with errors. Every treatment option was grayed out. Not compatible. Species unknown. Cannot proceed. Jake barely slept. He sat beside the medical pod watching Lily's vital signs drop lower and lower. Her crystalline skin was losing its color, turning dull and gray. Her breathing came in short, shallow gasps. He'd saved her from that tomb of a ship only to watch her die anyway in his cramped cargo bay. On the 3rd day, Jake made a call he'd been avoiding. Dr. Beth Hoffman. She was a xenobiology expert stationed at Orbital Platform 7, about 2 days' jump from his current position. They'd worked together years ago, back before Jake had left his research job to become a salvage mechanic. They hadn't parted on the best terms. Jake had walked away from science, and Beth had thought he was wasting his potential. The video call connected after 3 rings. Beth's face appeared on screen, older than he remembered, with new lines around her eyes. She looked surprised to see him. Jake Morrison. Haven't heard from you in what, for years? 5, Jake said. Look, I need help. Medical emergency. Xenobiology stuff. You're the only person I know who might be able to figure this out. Beth's expression shifted from surprise to concern. What kind of emergency? Jake angled the camera toward the medical pod. Beth leaned closer to her screen, eyes narrowing. Then her face went completely pale. Is that a Vraltic's hatchling? Yeah. Jake, what the hell did you do? Found her dying on a derelict. Brought her back. Now she's dying anyway and I don't know how to stop it. Beth was quiet for a long moment. The Vraltics are going to come looking for that child. To finish the job? Yeah, I figured. This isn't a joke. You've committed a cultural crime by their standards. They'll want her back. So they can toss her back in a pod and let her die alone? Jake's voice rose. Not happening, Beth. Either help me save her or get off my comm. Beth stared at him through the screen. Jake could see her thinking, weighing options, calculating risks. Finally she sighed. Send me your coordinates. I'll be there in 36 hours. Don't do anything stupid until I arrive. Beth showed up early, her personal shuttle docking with Jake's ship in just under 30 hours. She came through the airlock carrying 3 cases of medical equipment and wearing the same determined expression Jake remembered from their research days. She examined Lily for hours, running scans, taking samples, muttering to herself in medical jargon Jake barely followed. He brought her coffee and stayed out of her way. When she finally looked up from her equipment, her face was grim. The paralysis is permanent, Beth said. By Vraltic's medical standards, anyway. Their healing technology only works on complete, undamaged biology. They can regrow limbs, cure diseases, repair trauma. But neural damage like this? Developmental damage? They consider it unfixable. So that's it? She just dies. I didn't say that. Beth pulled up a holographic display showing Lily's nervous system. It looked like a network of glowing blue crystal threads running through her small body. Half of them were dark, dead. Vraltic's biology is crystalline in nature. Their nerves are essentially living mineral structures. When they're damaged during development, they don't regenerate. Vraltic's medicine can't help because it's designed for perfection, not adaptation. But human medicine isn't, Jake said slowly, understanding where she was going. Exactly. Beth's fingers danced across her tablet, pulling up schematics. We use neural interface technology for spinal injuries, brain damage, paralysis. We build bridges where biology fails. If we could adapt that technology to work with her crystalline structure. You want to make her a hybrid? Part organic, part machine. I want to give her a chance to live. Beth met his eyes. It's experimental. It's dangerous. It might not work. And even if it does, she'll never be fully Vraltic's or fully human technology. She'll be something in between. Jake looked at Lily in the medical pod, her small chest barely rising with each breath. She's dying anyway. In between sounds better than dead. They worked for 6 straight days. Beth barely left the medical bay, surviving on coffee and protein bars. Jake helped where he could, fabricating parts, running diagnostics, holding equipment steady during delicate procedures. They built a prototype neural interface from scratch, combining human adaptive technology with synthesized materials that could bond with crystalline structures. It was crude, experimental, held together with hope and desperation. But it was something. On the 7th day, Jake's ship computer woke him with an urgent alert. Official communication from Vraltic's government. Priority override. Cannot be deleted. Jake played the message. A tall Vraltic's official stared out from the screen, face cold and emotionless. Human vessel, you are harboring Vraltic's biological property. Return the specimen immediately for proper cultural protocols. Failure to comply will result in legal action. Jake deleted it. 3 more messages came. He deleted those too. Beth found him in the cockpit staring at the comm system. They know, she said. Yeah. They're going to send someone. Probably. What are you going to do? Jake started plotting a jump course to deep space, far from Coalition routes and Vraltic's patrols. Run. You coming? Beth should have said no. She should have taken her shuttle and gone back to her safe, comfortable research position. Instead, she strapped into the co-pilot seat. Someone needs to keep you from doing anything stupid. Too late for that, Jake said and jumped them into the dark. The Vraltic's delegation arrived at the docking station 2 hours later. They found an empty berth and no forwarding address. Jake Morrison was officially a fugitive. And he'd never felt more certain about anything in his life. For 3 months Jake ran. He jumped from system to system, never staying longer than a day, never using the same refueling station twice. His ship's navigational computer was filled with routes through places most pilots avoided. Dead zones where sensors didn't work properly. Asteroid fields so dense that autopilot was useless. The forgotten corners of space where nobody looked too closely at who came and went. The Vraltics couldn't legally hunt him. Coalition law was clear about that. They'd need proof of a crime, a trial, all the bureaucratic mess that slowed governments down. But bounty hunters didn't care about laws. They cared about credits, and the Vraltics were offering plenty. Jake had already dodged 3 hunting crews. The first had been amateurs, easy to lose in the rings of a gas giant. The second crew had been professionals, forcing Jake to make a blind jump into uncharted space that nearly tore his ship apart. The third crew had almost caught him at a fuel depot, and he'd barely escaped with his tanks half empty. Beth worked non-stop in the cargo bay. She'd turned the entire space into a makeshift laboratory and surgical theater. Equipment covered every surface, wires running between machines in chaotic tangles that somehow made sense to her. The bay smelled like antiseptic and ozone from the medical scanners running constantly. Lily remained in medical stasis most of the time, her small body suspended in the pod while Beth performed surgery after surgery. Each procedure was a gamble. Too much interference and her crystalline biology might reject everything. Too little and she'd die anyway. Beth walked that razor edge with steady hands and nerves Jake couldn't imagine having. Jake himself lived in the pilot's seat. He slept in 2-hour bursts, always ready to jump if sensors picked up anything suspicious. He taught the ship's computer to recognize Vraltic's energy signatures and bounty hunter transponder codes. The alarms went off at least twice a day. The breakthrough came during their 5th jump, 3 weeks into their run. Jake was navigating through a particularly nasty debris field when Beth's voice crackled over the intercom. Jake, you need to see this. He put the ship on autopilot, which was dangerous in a debris field, but Beth's tone said it was important. He found her in the cargo bay, staring at a holographic display of Lily's nervous system. Look. Beth pointed at the network of crystalline threads. Some of them were glowing now, a faint blue light pulsing through previously dead pathways. I modified human stem cell technology to bond with her crystalline structure. It's actually working. Her nerves are regenerating. Jake stared at the display. How? Human biology is adaptable. That's our thing, right? We're not the strongest or the smartest species out there, but we're flexible. We heal weird. We adapt to things that should kill us. Beth's hands moved across the controls, zooming in on specific nerve clusters. Vraltic's biology is rigid, crystalline, perfect. It doesn't know how to heal imperfection. But human technology does. It's designed for broken things. So she's going to be okay? Her lower nerves are responding. I'm seeing muscle reaction in her legs. Jake, I think she might actually walk. For the first time in weeks, Jake felt something other than exhaustion and fear. He felt hope. 3 days later, everything went sideways. Jake was running dark near the frontier, trying to avoid a Vraltic's patrol that had somehow picked up their trail. Beth was in the cargo bay performing what she said would be the final surgery. The timing couldn't have been worse. Jake, I need stable gravity for the next 20 minutes, Beth called over the intercom. If you start doing crazy maneuvers, I could kill her. We've got company, Jake replied, watching 3 ships break orbit from a nearby moon. Vraltic's military. Fast ships. They're scanning everything in the sector. 20 minutes, Jake. Just give me 20 minutes. Jake did something stupid. Instead of running, he took the ship deeper into the frontier zone, riding the edge of a stellar radiation belt that scrambled sensors. The radiation played havoc with his own instruments too, but it bought Beth her time. Inside the cargo bay, Beth completed the final neural connection. The modified stem cell bridges locked into place along Lily's spine, interfacing with her crystalline nervous system in ways that should have been impossible. Lily's 4 eyes opened. All of them bright and clear. And then, for the first time since Jake had found her in that tomb ship, she moved her legs. Beth nearly dropped her instruments. Oh my God. Lily, can you hear me? Move your foot again if you understand. Lily's small crystalline foot flexed. Then the other one. Her face, so alien yet somehow expressive, showed confusion and wonder. Jake pulled them out of the radiation belt just as the Vraltic ships gave up their search and jumped away. He set the autopilot and ran to the cargo bay. When he saw Lily sitting up, moving, alive in ways she'd never been before, he had to grab the doorframe for support. We did it, Beth said, tears running down her face. Jake, we actually did it. But success brought new problems. Word spread fast in the underground networks where fugitives and criminals traded information. Within a week, Jake's private communications channel was flooded with messages. Desperate families from a dozen different species, all with the same story. Children born wrong. Children their societies had given up on. Children they'd been ordered to quietly dispose of. They all wanted what Jake had given Lily. Oh. The Vraltic's empire escalated fast. They declared Jake a cultural criminal and published his arrest warrant across every coalition system. They wanted Lily back, and they wanted her publicly terminated as an example of what happened when outsiders interfered with Vraltic's cultural practices. Jake studied his star charts looking for somewhere safe. The coalition worlds wouldn't protect him. Vraltic's diplomatic pressure was too strong. He needed somewhere beyond easy reach. Somewhere stubborn enough to tell the Vraltic's empire to go to hell. You found it? Red Rock Station, a human frontier colony in the outer systems. 3,000 colonists, mostly human, all of them the kind of people who'd chosen frontier life because they didn't fit anywhere else. Jake set the course and looked at Beth. If they want her, they'll have to go through every stubborn human out there. Beth nodded. Then let's make sure they know we're coming. The whole galaxy was watching now. Jake's broadcast had done something nobody expected. It had sparked a conversation that reached every corner of known space. On the Vraltic's homeworld, young parents watched Lily playing and laughing. They saw a child who, by their laws, shouldn't exist. But she was happy. She was thriving. Some of them started asking questions they'd never dared to ask before. The second ship that arrived wasn't Vraltic's. It was a massive carrier from the Kelthra Empire, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They were known for being neutral, for staying out of conflicts. Their arrival changed everything. Commander Seth of the Kelthra sent a message directly to Red Rock Station. His voice was calm but firm. We have been observing this situation. We wish to speak with Jake Cooper and see the child called Lily. The Vraltic's commander went ballistic. This is our internal matter. You have no right to interfere. Seth's response was ice cold. When you bring a warship to threaten a civilian station with 4,000 souls over one child, it stops being internal. When you broadcast demands across public channels, it becomes everyone's business. Jake was nervous, but he agreed to the meeting. The Kelthra didn't just send diplomats, they sent medical experts, child development specialists, and historians. They wanted to see everything. For 3 days they studied Lily. They examined her neural exoskeleton, watched her interact with other children, reviewed her medical records. They spoke with the doctors who designed her support system. They even played with her, which surprised everyone. These ancient, dignified beings sitting on the floor, rolling a ball back and forth with a giggling 9-month-old. During those 3 days, the Vraltic's warship just waited. Their commander was getting pressure from home. The broadcast had caused problems. Protests were starting on some of their worlds. Young Vraltics were questioning the old ways. On the 4th day, the Kelthra released their findings. They didn't just send it to the governments, they broadcast it to everyone just like Jake had done. The lead medical expert, a being named Orin who'd spent 2 centuries studying child development across dozens of species, spoke directly to the camera. We have examined the human child extensively. Her condition, which the Vraltics classify as a defect requiring termination, has been addressed through adaptive technology. The neural exoskeleton designed by human doctors is remarkable. It works with her natural biology, enhancing rather than replacing. Oren paused, then continued. But more important than the technology is what we observed in the child herself. Lily demonstrates normal cognitive development. She shows emotional bonds with caregivers. She learns, plays, and interacts appropriately for her age. By every meaningful measure, she is a healthy, happy child. Then Oren said something that sent shockwaves through the galactic community. The Kelthara Empire officially recognizes Lily Cooper as a person with full rights under galactic law. Any attempt to harm her will be considered an act of aggression against a galactic citizen. The Vraltic's commander was trapped. Fighting the Kelthara would mean war with one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. But backing down meant admitting their entire system was wrong. That's when something unexpected happened. A small shuttle launched from the Vraltic's warship. It wasn't armed. It carried a single passenger, a young Vraltic's female named Kiora. She requested permission to land at Red Rock Station. Jake, against the advice of his security team, allowed it. Kiora walked into the station's common area where families gathered. She moved slowly, carefully. In her arms, she carried something wrapped in soft cloth. "I am Kiora," she said in halting but clear human language. "I serve on the warship as a medical officer. I came because I must show you something." She unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a small child, maybe 6 months old by human standards. The baby had the same condition as Lily, underdeveloped lower limbs. "This is my daughter Nira," Kiora said, her voice shaking. "When she was born, I was told to surrender her for culling. I could not. I hid her. I have been hiding her for 6 months, living in fear every day." Tears were streaming down her face, the first time most humans had seen a Vraltic's cry. "When I saw your broadcast, when I saw Lily walking and playing, I knew I could not hide anymore. If humans can fight for one child, then I must fight for mine." The station went silent. Then Tom Baker stepped forward. "Bring her to our medical center. Let's see if our doctors can help." Within hours, the story exploded across the galaxy again. A Vraltic's mother risking everything to save her child. Human doctors working to design a second neural exoskeleton. The two babies, different species, playing together while their support systems were being built. The Vraltic's commander faced an impossible choice. His own crew member had defected. The galaxy was watching. And now it wasn't about one human child, it was about every child like them across Vraltic space. More shuttles started arriving. Not soldiers, parents. Vraltic's mothers and fathers who'd been hiding children, living in fear and shame. They came in ones and twos at first, then in larger groups. Each one carrying a child their society had deemed unworthy. Red Rock Station, a small mining outpost, suddenly became the most important place in the galaxy. Human doctors worked around the clock, sharing their designs, teaching Vraltic's medical officers how to create adaptive technologies. Jake watched it all unfold. His simple act of rescuing one child had started something much bigger than he'd ever imagined. It wasn't just about Lily anymore. It was about changing how an entire civilization viewed their own children. The Vraltic's warship still hung in space, its commander awaiting orders from home. But those orders were getting harder to give. Because back on the Vraltic's homeworld, something was changing. Young parents were demanding answers. Why had they been taught to fear imperfection? Why had they accepted that some children were disposable? The old records Jake had found were spreading through Vraltic's networks. Proof that their ancestors had been different, had valued all life. The current system was an ancient tradition. It was relatively recent, born from fear during wartime, and it had never ended. As Lily took her careful steps across the station floor, followed by little Nira learning to use her new exoskeleton, the galaxy held its breath. This wasn't just about medical technology or political standoffs anymore. It was about what it means to be civilized. What it means to care. What it means to give every child a chance. And somehow it took humans, young, rough, imperfect humans, to remind the galaxy of that simple truth. The tension in space around Red Rock Station was thick enough to cut with a knife. The Vraltic's warship still floated there, weapons armed, waiting for orders. But then something appeared on the station's sensors that nobody expected. Another ship was coming. But this one wasn't military. It was a civilian transport, old and worn, the kind used for basic cargo runs. As it got closer, the station picked up a message broadcasting on repeat. "This is civilian transport Mercy's Run. We are unarmed. We carry families seeking sanctuary. Please do not fire." Jake's heart started pounding. He looked at the scan results. The ship was packed, way over its normal capacity. 52 life signs. All Vraltics. The transport docked, and when the airlock opened, Jake understood. Parents stepped out, each one carrying a small child. Some of the babies had conditions like Lily's. Others had different issues: missing sensory organs, underdeveloped wings, various physical differences that their society considered defects. Avraltic's father approached Jake, holding his daughter close. His voice was rough with emotion. "We saw the broadcast. We saw your child walking. We were told our children had no future. We were ordered to surrender them. We could not. We ran instead." Behind him, more parents nodded. Some were crying. All of them looked exhausted and terrified, but also hopeful. "We have nowhere else to go," another parent said. "If you turn us away, we will die as fugitives. Our children will die. But we saw that human girl, Lily. We saw her thriving. If there is any chance, any hope at all." Jake didn't hesitate. "Tom, get medical teams ready. Set up temporary housing in the cargo bays. Move it, people." On the warship, the commander faced a nightmare scenario. His orders were clear: retrieve the Vraltic's child by force. But now there were dozens of Vraltic's children on that station. And worse, they were with civilian parents, his own people, who'd fled directly to human protection. If he attacked now, he'd be killing Vraltic civilians. His own kind. The scandal would destroy him. But if he retreated without the children, he'd be defying direct orders from the High Council. He was stuck, and everyone knew it. That's when Lily changed everything. She was 9 months old, barely steady on her feet, but she understood what was happening. Kate had been teaching her both languages, and Lily had picked them up fast, the way young children do. Jake was in the command center when Lily toddled in, followed by her worried caretaker. Before anyone could stop her, she walked right up to the communication console. Her small hands reached for the broadcast button. "Wait, Lily, no," Jake started, but she was already speaking. Her voice went out on all frequencies in perfect Vraltics, with the formal grammar used for official declarations. "I am Lily Morrison. I carry the blood of Vraltics. I am raised by hands of humans. I am both. I am neither. I am myself. I choose to live. I choose both my peoples." The command center went dead silent. Every being in the station, every soldier on the warship, every official monitoring the situation heard her. Then Lily did something that stopped the galaxy cold. She invoked an ancient law that even most Vraltics had forgotten. In their old traditions, before the culling practices began, adoption between species was sacred. If a child formally claimed a guardian from another species, that bond was considered holy, beyond the reach of governments. By using Jake's last name, by calling herself Morrison, Lily had claimed him as kin under Vraltic's law. Their own sacred traditions, the ones they claimed to honor, meant the Empire couldn't touch her without violating everything they said they stood for. The warship commander knew he was beaten. He could see it playing out. If he attacked now, he wouldn't just be the villain who killed children. He'd be the one who violated sacred law. His own people would turn on him. He withdrew. The warship jumped to hyperspace and the system exhaled in relief. But the real work was just beginning. Red Rock Station wasn't designed to handle this many refugees. The cargo bays were packed with families. The medical center was overwhelmed. They needed help, and they needed it fast. The Coalition Assembly met in emergency session. Some members wanted to force the Vraltic's families to return home. Others argued for granting them asylum. The debate raged for days. Finally, they reached a compromise. Red Rock Station was granted special autonomous status. Not quite independent, but self-governing in matters of medical care and child welfare. The Coalition would provide funding and resources, but wouldn't interfere with how the station operated. Kate immediately established what she called the Adaptive Medicine Center. It wasn't just for Vraltic's children. Word had spread across the galaxy about what humans could do, how they refused to give up on anyone, how their doctors could design solutions for problems other species considered impossible. Families started arriving from everywhere. A Kelthara child born without their species' natural telepathic abilities. Arishin whose wings never developed properly. Species after species, each one carrying children their own societies had written off. Human doctors worked alongside alien specialists, sharing knowledge, adapting techniques, learning from each other. The neural exoskeleton design that saved Lily became the template for hundreds of other devices, each one customized for different species and different needs. The station expanded. More modules were added, more doctors arrived, more families seeking hope. Within a year, Red Rock wasn't a mining outpost anymore. It was something new, a place where different didn't mean broken, where every child got a chance. Jake watched it all happen with a sense of wonder. He'd just been a cargo pilot who couldn't leave a baby to die. Now he was the adoptive father of the girl who'd sparked a revolution. Lily grew up surrounded by children from 20 different species, all of them thriving with their adaptive devices. She learned languages the way other kids learned games. By age 5, she could speak 7 languages fluently. By age 8, she was helping younger children adapt to their new equipment, showing them that their devices weren't limitations, they were just different ways of moving through the world. 10 years after that desperate flight from the Vraltic station, Lily stood in front of the Coalition Assembly. She was 20 years old now, the youngest representative ever invited to address the full council. Behind her stood 300 young beings from dozens of species. Every one of them had been deemed unworthy by their birth societies. Every one of them was thriving now. Lily's voice was steady as she spoke. My father carried me when I couldn't walk. He taught me that different doesn't mean less. He showed me that the measure of a civilization isn't in its technology or its weapons or its territory. It's in how it treats those who need help. She gestured to the crowd behind her. We represent something new. Not just medicine or technology but a philosophy. Humanity's real gift to the galaxy isn't their ships or their innovations. It's their stubborn, foolish, beautiful refusal to give up on anyone. Jake watched from the gallery, tears streaming down his face. His daughter, once left to die on a cold station floor, was changing the galaxy. Because sometimes the most human thing you can do is look at someone the world has written off and say, not on my watch. You matter. You're worth fighting for. And sometimes that's enough to change everything.